Dating apps didn't kill romance, but it definitely injured it. Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Hannah. I make content all about self-development, living your best life, solo living, London life series, all that good stuff. So make sure you hit subscribe, comment, show some love, hit that bell notification so you know the next time that I'm uploading. And yeah, let's get into the video. So I'm gonna go and get a few drinks with a friend, but I didn't want it to just be me talking through my makeup because that's super boring. I wanted to talk about some hot topics. I wanted to talk about things like pros and cons to sort of living on your own in your 20s, and sort of decentering men. What does that mean? Does it just exist online or in real life? I want to talk about dating apps. Should they exist? Are they good? Are they bad? And women being pick-me's. I feel like these are just hot topics. I have so much opinions on these things. I rarely, never ever share them, to be honest. So I thought we'd do my makeup and let's talk about these hot topics. Okay. Feel free to comment your opinions in the comments below. Let me know if there are any points that you agree with, you disagree with. Let's talk about it because I think it's fun. Okay, let's get into the video. Now, I do have like a mirror and another mirror here, so if you see me looking to the side, I'm just looking in the mirror, okay? Let's talk about decentering men. Now, to sum it up, it basically means not making men the focal point of your life, decisions that you make for yourself, and your self-worth. So in theory, I would say that sounds like a good thing. I think a lot of people are talking about it lately. I think especially just the tides are changing so much. Injustices are happening, like genocide, what's going on in Afghanistan, overturning Roe v. Wade in the US. I feel like sort of ever since then, people have been talking about decentering men. People have been talking about the patriarchy a little bit more. My opinion is that decentering men exists online, but not in real life. Online, people talk about it. People talk about how they are doing it and how they don't center men at all. I feel like it's really just online, and a lot of women aren't actually doing that work to make themselves the focal point in their life. A lot of women still subconsciously prioritize male attention when they think that they're not. For example, not being able to have a conversation without bringing up men, for example. Me and my sister briefly talked about this and just how, I think it's the Bechdel test. I'm just gonna check that that's right. Yes, that's what it's called. We talked about how we would pass the Bechdel test with flying colors, and that just means being able to have a conversation, basically being able to like have a whole dinner and not talk about men, not talk about dating, not talk about like what men are doing, what we think about just men in general. We will talk about anything else. We will talk about what we're doing on the weekend, our life goals, our plans. They just do not come up in conversation for us, and for me, that is a major slave. It's a major slave. I don't think it's bad to talk about men, by the way. I don't think it's bad to talk about like dating, what's going on in your life and the man in your life. I don't think it's bad to talk about that. I just mean that it's just not the center of every conversation. Like, we cannot have like a simple conversation without talking about dating or a man. It's not like you shouldn't talk about men at all. It's, can you have like a full-blown conversation? Can you have a lunch without talking about like men and dating? I know like it's a hot topic, but I feel like as women, we really need to get into the habit of doing that, and I feel like that's a really big step to actually decentering men. I also think that a lot of people think it's a very easy thing to do, like, okay, I'm just gonna like start decentering men, I'm just gonna start centering myself. It is, in my opinion, a very lengthy process, especially living in the world as a woman and just growing up. We are just taught to just kind of idolize the whole idea of like marriage, kids, settling down, that kind of thing. It's not really pushed for us to like put our career first, basically. It was definitely taught for me when I was growing up to like study, focus, that kind of thing. But even like movies, the romantic comedies, and even like the Disney movies, and the prince coming in at the end and they sail off and they live happily ever after, it's very ingrained in us. We're very even conditioned to just think a man is basically going to come and save the day for us, you know, that we need them basically in order to have this happily ever after. So that's why I feel like it's definitely like a learning process, and you really have to actively try to decenter men. It's a huge process. That's my thoughts. What do you think about decentering men? Do you think it is easy? Do you think it's not easy? What do you feel about like the conditioning? Do you think that we're conditioned? Because there was probably a time in my life where I thought, yeah, I've decentered men. Men aren't the like center focus, but sometimes in theory you feel like they're not, but then maybe like you do have a man in your life and then that just kind of changes and he very much kind of becomes the focal point and you're very much waiting on that call and that text. And I naturally decenter men and I naturally put myself first, but I have definitely had moments in the past where I have sacrificed my well-being, my peace of mind because of a man. Like, I'm not ashamed to admit that. For me, just part of growing up and part of becoming a woman. I don't want to speak for everyone, but I just feel like it's just a very common thing amongst women. For me now, I feel like I can confidently say that I have decentered men from my life. Having a really good man in my life who is adding value will just be a bonus. It's not something that I am waiting for, if that makes any sense. I prioritize myself, my goals, my friendships, my support system, the people around me who I can trust, who I can rely on, and they can rely on me too. Me personally, I feel like hand on heart, I can say I am never sacrificing my peace of mind to appease a man, basically, or for male validation. I also don't want to feel like decentering men is hating them. Don't get me wrong, I'm definitely like sometimes very much going down that road with just everyday men I encounter on the street, not even any in my like real personal life. But for me, it's just fully making yourself the main character. Fully making yourself the main character, having your own things going on in your life that just do not involve men at all. Let's move on. Pick-me's as like women. Let's talk about that next. I feel like it's very easy to segue onto that because part of decentering men is kind of turning off, lowering yourself on the pick-me spectrum. I think that it's not either you're a pick-me or you're not a pick-me. I think it's where are you on the pick-me spectrum. I see pick-me as a spectrum almost from like 1 to 10, and where do you sit on that spectrum, not like yes you are or no you're not. And that's where I feel like a lot of women kind of feel like, no, I'm not a pick-me. But really and truly, you're maybe like a 4 out of 10 or you're a 3 out of 10, like you're still there. It's not your whole identity pretty much. But okay, let me just explain what a pick-me is actually, just in case anyone doesn't know. When women put down other women or compromise themselves to seem more appealing to men, it's the craving for male validation. Agree with whatever men say or whatever men think so that they think highly of you, so that they think that you're a good woman, so that they think that you are a woman who's worthy of male attention. I feel like a lot of people see pick-me's as far right, like having those sort of like far right views, but I also think that it's both ends of the spectrum. It's also people who overperform with femininity and just make femininity their whole personality. Do you know what I mean? It's all about being overly soft, only wearing dresses and skirts, styling your hair in a certain way, not arguing with anyone because that's being in your masculine energy. You know, not being heavily debated or not being heavily critical on anything because that's being in your masculine energy. That to me, whenever I see that type of content, I'm just like, okay, cool, you're pandering to men. I feel like overperforming is pandering to the male gaze. A good example of a pick-me for me, or someone just being on that pick-me spectrum, is people who just kind of like to say, oh, I'm not like other girls, or I don't really get along with girls, I tend to get along with guys. Guys are so much easier to have as friends. Like, whenever I hear that kind of thing from a woman, or whenever I see a woman who doesn't have many female friends and she has a lot of male friends, to me that's very much a pick-me red flag. Surrounding yourself with men, I know that this might sound bad, but I feel like that woman is a lot less likely to care about the issues that women deal with every day, just because I feel like a lot of men are kind of simple-minded and they kind of turn their face away from it just because they benefit from patriarchy so much. They don't really have to deal with it, kind of out of sight, out of mind kind of mentality. So whenever I see a woman who doesn't have that many female friends, or she really kind of easily drops her female friends, or that to me just screams, if something were happening to me, if a man were doing something to me, I fear that you would immediately side with the man, and that's a scary behavior. I do not want anything to do with it. I do not want to touch that. Also doing things like just laughing at misogynistic jokes and just saying, oh, it's just a joke, it's just banter, it's just funny. Like, women pass away every day at the hands of men. So laughing at misogynistic jokes and saying it's just banter as a woman, It's a no from me. It's a no from me. Women who also love to compete with other women. A big reason why I stopped going to like clubs and certain nightlife really put me off. In sort of like the club scene where there are like bottles, tables, that kind of like club scene. For me, it's pick me central. I feel like if something were to happen to me in that environment, obviously like my friends would be there, but I have no business being in those establishments anymore. I have absolutely no interest. Unless I'm going with friends for a friend's birthday, or we do happen to be with like some guy friends or something and just that's where we're going. But just as a casual like Friday, Saturday night out, absolutely not. Again, it's a process. It's catching yourself in the moment. There have been like a lot of things coming out ever since the Me Too movement. There have been a lot of women speaking up more about their experiences, about their essay experiences, and it's so sad when I open the comment section and I see a woman like, there's two sides to every story. We haven't heard his side yet. Guilty until proven innocent. And like putting like the blame on the woman and the onus on the woman to just do better, also pick a better man, or why would you go to his hotel room at midnight anyway? Like, I see a lot of women in the comment section and it truly upsets me. But yeah, what do you think about pick me? Do you think that there is a spectrum? I think being very self-critical and very self-aware is key here, because I think a lot of people would like to say I'm 0 on the pick me spectrum, but you got to be really honest with yourself there. There are definitely times where I was slightly younger and I'd make certain decisions because because of like what men might think. I've definitely been on that pick me spectrum. I really like put my girls first. I always have just been a girl's girl, but I definitely have been on somewhere on the spectrum, a 3, a 4, like somewhere there, and I'm just happy to say that's no longer me. It's a process. You just kind of got to learn to just unlearn these behaviors that we've been taught. Yeah, I just think it's important to note that a pick me isn't always loud and just loudly taking a man's side of things. It can be just kind of dimming your light to make quietly like dimming your light and not prioritizing yourself so that another man can shine. And I feel like it's very easy to do something like that when you're in a relationship, because it's very easy to just pass it off as, but I love this person, but I care about this person. But if that person truly loved you, they wouldn't want you to dim your light for them. Quiet pick me-ism, shall we say. I've had to put my scarf back on because my slick back hadn't fully dried yet. So yeah, I want to talk about being a single independent girly in your 20s, what that means, the pros, the cons, because I feel like people do ask me about it. You get lonely, you kind of like run out of things to do. Short answer is no. Living on your own in your 20s is a freedom until you realize, I can't believe like I have to take the bins out every week, just me. That's a blue job, as the girlies would say. That is a blue job. It is not a pink job. There are glamorous parts to it, like pouring yourself a glass of wine, making yourself a nice bowl of pasta, watching rom-coms. So I'm gonna be honest with you, the pros outweigh the cons for sure. I'm not even gonna try and say, oh my god. The worst part is having to like pay bills. As one would imagine. The best part is just the hyper independence. It kind of made me question like what I see for myself in the future. It really made me feel like, oh my god, do I even want to get married? Do I even want to have kids? I enjoy this. I enjoy this hyper independence maybe a little bit too much. Is that something that I even want for my future? So yeah, it definitely does pull that into question. If that scares you, then maybe it's not for you, or maybe it's something that you wouldn't like. But it does definitely make you think of the whole how women should live. It's hard because society still acts like marriage, kids is sort of like the end goal, and even if you don't feel that for yourself, you are sort of made to feel weird for not wanting those things or not prioritizing those things. There's a lot of kind of like second guessing yourself because of that. Whenever I tell people that marriage and kids really aren't a priority for me, and if that never happens for me, I'm okay with that. That's genuinely how I feel. I feel like people think I'm joking, or that I'm just putting on like a tough face or tough exterior, and inside like deep down I'm like crying and worried about having 10 cats. I feel like genuinely people think that I'm lying, or people just think that I'm strange. That's what I get. I see people like they get married, they have kids, or they get engaged and they seem super happy, and that's great for them, but it really just doesn't make me think I need that. I think most men do not dream about the day that they get married and have kids, and that's not hard to believe if a man says that, but when a woman says it, it's like, really? Like, are you lying? Are you sure? Like, why wouldn't you want that? Anyway, more about the pros and cons of living. There's no one to answer to. If I want to have cake for breakfast, I can have cake for breakfast, you know, and no one can tell me otherwise, or no one can shame me for it because there's no one around to shame me. Do you know what I mean? Like I had cake for breakfast last week and it was fantastic. And no one could tell me anything about it. It definitely gives you opportunity to fully discover like what you like, how you want to live, your preferences, what bothers you, what doesn't bother you, what's a priority for you, what's not a priority for you. I would really recommend that every woman live alone, not even just in your 20s, in your 30s too, in your 40s, whenever. Do it for like a year or do it for like at least 6 months. I think it's just such a good experience for anyone to have, man or woman, but especially women. As long as I have like a support system, I can see family and friends sometimes, and I have a full life, I have hobbies. I don't understand why it'd be so bad doing it forever, genuinely. It makes me feel like very self-sufficient. It just forces you to be self-sufficient and figure things out by yourself. And it just teaches you a lot. The downside to hyper independence is it's kind of hard to let people into your world. I don't force my way out to try and make friends as much. It would be very easy for me to just spend a lot of time by myself if I let that happen. It's very easy to let that happen and to just really isolate yourself from your friends. Have you lived on your own? Would you like to live on your own? It definitely does come with a few like emotional trade-offs and like a lot of responsibility. It's not something to take lightly. There's a lot of planning you have to do behind it if you do plan on fully being responsible for yourself, paying all the bills. There's a lot of planning, but yeah, I think the payoff is worth it. But each to their own. Some people just like living with people and that's not an issue either. But I do think like do like a short stint, whether even if it's just a few months by yourself, is a huge learning curve. Okay, last but not leastly, let's talk about dating apps. It's so interesting because we've never had more access to more people, and yet I feel like because of that, people's experiences are awful. I think that it was good to start off with, but people have just used it for the wrong things. I feel like before they were very well intentioned and it actually brought people together. I don't know whether people remember in the UK, I think there was one called Match.com, and I think people actually met their like future person on there. But I feel like these modern ones, these Tinders and the Hinges and the Bumbles, I don't know, I think it's weird. I think if you're going on the app, it should be an intention for something long term. There shouldn't be sort of like an option for both. I feel like there should be two separate apps in that case, one for short term and one for long term. I just don't think they should be intertwined because just lines get crossed. And I also think it's weird to be able to put on an app open to both long and short term. To me, that doesn't make sense. I feel you should want one or the other. And if you don't know yet, then you shouldn't be on there. I personally, I'm not on any. It's not for me personally, but some people find the love of their lives on there. I'm not willing to filter through, but each to their own. I also feel like it has made people lazy with like planning dates, doing something fun, doing like grand gestures, because I feel like a lot of people just trying to go on like as many dates as they can. And when you're doing something like that, you're not really trying to make the experience special or memorable in any way, shape or form. You're just sort of treating it like speed dating. That's my thoughts on it. I think there's more bad than good, but I get why people go on there. It's like an easier way of meeting people if you have like a busy work schedule. Like it makes sense. I just think it's done more harm than good. You can let me know what you think in the comments, but that's my opinion. I feel like it definitely just creates like this shopping mentality with the whole swiping left and right and being able to like pay more so you can do that an unlimited amount of times and you can have an unlimited amount of matches. Is kind of crazy to me. I feel like people should limit matches. You should be putting more on the app rather than just like a few prompts or just a short bio. Then it just becomes again just all about looks and less about personality, and you can't actually get a real read of the kind of person that they are. I think that the people in charge of these apps could do better. I feel like now it's for profit more than purpose, and that's where the apps have gone wrong. But again, I do feel like people are just using it for the wrong things and the wrong reasons, and there are too many options for what you can be looking for on an app that they're just not fulfilling their purpose as well as they could be. I think there should be like limited matches that you could do a day or limited matches that you could have in a week, but that would make the app less fun. Less people would be more likely to pay for it, and because of that, we're in a situation that we're in where the girlies are downloading it, undownloading it, boycotting the apps, this, that and the other. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on it. Last point I'm gonna make on this is I think that people now do not know how to speak to people in person. People don't know how to approach people in person. People don't know how to like hold a conversation. There's too much just relying on your phone and texting and just being suave and screenshotting it and asking your friends or even asking AI how you should respond to things. So people actually are becoming less and less sociable and they do not know how to have conversations and just approach people in public, which I think is a real shame. I think that's like the worst part of it, making people less able to hold a conversation in person, which is such a crucial skill to have. Dating apps didn't kill romance, but it definitely injured it, because I feel like for a lot of men it's like, why should I plan a proper date when I can probably just like speak to the next girl and she won't have as high expectations? That's fair enough if that's the way that they want to think, but I just feel like it's just created low effort from both sides. Okay, that's pretty much my finished look. I still need to get dressed and stuff, but thank you so much for watching. Make sure you let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below as well. Any other things that you want like an opinion on, any other hot topics that you think? Did you enjoy this video, not enjoy this video? Let me know in the comments below. I will not be offended. Yeah, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.